bringing you inside the USL Championship and League One.
Ball played into the box. There's Tyler Blackwood, a shot, and a goal!
Hear from players and coaches to team executives.
Pirelli crossing, settled near the penalty spot, and a shot! Oh! The finish is remarkable! Rebellion!
From the boardroom to the pitch, this is USL All Access.
Welcome, everybody, to a new edition of USL All Access. Happy Tuesday night, wherever you might be listening from coast to coast. That's the old name of the show. With Devon, Kerr, and Emmett McConnell at the controls. Mike Watts chatting with you for the next hour here on SiriusXM FC. We have 1 week left in the regular season. We have a Players Shield champion to discuss. We've also got all kinds of seeding permutations to try and figure out. Handful of players hitting new plateaus for the league. We'll go top to bottom throughout the East and the West and get you ready for what you need to watch this week so that we can set a bracket next week and take aim the USL Championship final on November 12th. You'll hear here on the channel and you'll watch on ESPN2. Dev, you and I are both having wild weeks. I'm in a basement where you can just see all the insulation. It's a very insulated home.
It's delightful.
And I feel like you don't have any liquor sitting behind you, which is a loss for us all.
Well, it's just my head's in the way because if I pan up, it's there.
Do
you know? Hang on, you ready? I know people at home can't see, so if you could please verbal. Do you know what these bottles are? Do you know that one right there? Do you remember?
That is the Rowdies Grey Goose.
You know what that is? That is the final that never happened, and it did. That's proof right there that the 2020 USL Championship final happened. Great gift from the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Beautifully engraved Grey Goose bottle. Not a big vodka fan, though, as we've mentioned before. I'm an equal opportunity employer.
Yeah,
do you know what this one up there on the shelf is? Up there?
That's the Louisville John Hackworth bottle.
That is my arm.
Yeah.
That is the 2018 Louisville. Oh, no, 1918. 19.
Okay.
19. Yeah, 19.
All I know is the only trophy that was given for the 2020 final is actually on Devon's shelf, believe it or not, and it's still undrank.
Can I tell you something about, speaking of trophies and things that were drank? I did something this weekend that I've never done in my entire life, and I paid a massive compliment to a refereeing crew.
Wow.
So called the Dallas-San Jose game on Saturday night for MLS. We got done, back to the hotel. It was a very good game in general, tactically. And I thought from an announcing standpoint, I actually had a pretty good game. I was like, you know what? I'm going to have a bourbon, relax for a second. My partner for the evening was Tyler Terrence. Most USL Championship fans will or should probably know him. And long story short, we thought it would be a good idea to extend an olive branch to the refereeing crew. Young lady walked over, said to the bartender, hey, we'd like to buy the refereeing crew a drink. They were in their warm-up kits. No problem. Said, just put it on our bill. She said, okay, great. These guys bought a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
I mean, good for them. Like,
good for
well
pro.
played. USL Pro. Never saw that coming, though. I never saw anyone ever going, oh, you're going to buy me a drink? Great, I'll take a bottle.
Hey, now I'm going to go look up who your officials were for that game because I know.
Are they wrong or no?
For.
You'll know who they are, too.
Yeah, no, for me, that's more of a couple of glasses kind of thing or three mixed drinks. But no. Hey.
Never one hole.
So, hey, how it goes. Sorry about it, Dev. You lost money on that game. You hate to see it.
The joke's on Tyler. The joke's on Tyler. I put it on his room. Keep going.
Smart man. All right, Dev, let's chat about what we had here last week in the championship. For one, we blew it up because it was the game.
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay down in St. Pete. Pittsburgh wins it 2-0. For what it's worth, this was the quintessential Riverhounds win, right? 28% of the ball, fewer shots, lesser opportunities, and yet they get a goal in the first minute from Albert Dikwa, and you're gone. And you get a goal from a center back because that's what you do when you're in Pittsburgh. And Ordonez scores in the 62nd minute. And so they win the Players Shield. It means East and West, no matter what happens, if the Pittsburgh Riverhounds make the final, they'll be hosting, and Devon and I will be on a boat calling it from the Monongahela. Dev, what did you take away from the Pittsburgh-Tampa Bay game? Because there's a very realistic chance we're going to see it again being played the first weekend of November in Pittsburgh.
I've got multiple things to discuss here. I would say that, do we want to go positive or negative on the first kind of viewpoint?
Start on the positives.
Okay. On the positives, Pittsburgh performed masterfully. And for a team that has basically the entire team rotated every single game all year long, to all of a sudden 4 games in a row prior, be very clear, to the Rowdies game, they used the exact same structure, okay? It was a back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it. For the Pittsburgh, it's usually back 8, but so it's the same back 5, same midfield 3, and same 2 up top. And so you coast into the weekend and you think, okay, nothing here is going to change, right? They're not going to change whatsoever because they've had success and they changed all year long. And then they go 4 games in a row and they've got the time to spend on the tactics. So why would they change? Well, they changed because it's Bob Lilly. And Bob Lilly is to me, man, tactically, he is one of the more incredible geniuses, literally, that you will meet in this game.
Am I wrong in saying that we've all taken to, it's Lily ball, oh, it's so defensive, that we actually
don't group me in with the we?
No, I'm saying a very royal we. I feel like in the championship, most fans look at Bob Lilly's teams and go, well, they just sit in and park the bus. No, they don't. There is way more going on there if you decide to actually take the time to watch.
Yeah, you pay attention. And it's funny because you've been on the calls with Bob and I, right? Where I'll go, I saw you do this. Why didn't you do this? And one question, in the best of ways, we're nerding out beyond belief. And the one question turns to 30 minutes. And we talked about one specific player breakdown, but that player breakdown, oddly enough, speaking of the Rowdies, affected 8 different players on the pitch, right? Because I've glorified the change that Neil Collins made with one player that affected 6 positions in the 2020 change. So let's go with the Rowdies. Okay, so with the Riverhounds. So he sits with basically the same team over and over and over again. And I don't mean that like in a bad argument's sake. Like they're there and they're doing their job and they're doing everything right. But then he decides to change again. Now, Joey Farrell coming back into the middle is not a big deal. Ordonez sitting next to him, not a big deal. I was a little bit surprised that he brought Danny Rivera back because he had replaced him previously. But Danny Rivera, again, coming off the bench, replaced him, sorry. Danny Rivera coming off the bench gave him more flexibility. Mm-hmm. What he did was he went with Luke Biasi. Luke Biasi, if you don't understand who he is or where he's from, he basically is he's got more speed, number one. That's probably the most important factor. And he marks better in open space. That's my opinion. That's what I've spoken to other coaches and GMs about. Putting Biasi in there gave you the idea that if you sat with 3 or went with 5, he could handle either. That's the most important argument that we're going to have over the course of this conversation, Mike, about this game, because he goes there. If all of a sudden the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which they didn't know, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, that they were going to come out in a 4. You and I talked about that coming in. If they decided to come out in a 5, all of a sudden, Biasi's job is very different. He's got a lot more open space to cover. He has to chase more. That, I don't want to say that wasn't the case. His responsibility, given the lineup that the Rowdies presented, was different. The goals were great, okay? So it's a recirculation on one end. It's an open play on another. You win the 50-50. Dequa actually wins the first ball. What was amazing to me, and this is the setup for the Rowdies, I don't know why they went with a 4. I have an idea, and I'll get there. But by going with a 4 and specifically putting Connor Antley at right mid and Jake Arman at left back, I was so confused. More importantly, Aaron Guillen's back, and he's playing left center back next to Forrest Lasso. You've taken, in theory, defensively, one of your biggest assets in Forrest Lasso and moved him out of his best position. You've done the same thing for Connor Antley. Aaron Guillen has a pass of sorts because he plays in a 3 at his best. Anyway, long story short, I would say that one goal definitively is Aaron Guillen's fault. And I hate saying that, but it's true because he didn't mark right and he didn't track right. And then on the counterattack, Rowdies try and counter. Luke Biasi, dear Lord, Bob Lilly. If he does anything right, it's the tackle by Luke Biasi that springs the counter, that ends the cutback for Ordonez on the center back goal. I didn't like the setup. I didn't like the way that they played, and it affected them all game long.
Dev, it's funny. We've joked in the past, because it's true, that the trophy at the end of this was team made. In the past, they've created the Players Shield as opposed to the Supporters Shield. They didn't have any official trophy for that, and for the first time, you've seen the league come out and say, "Hey, to be fair, they used to have a regular season champion, and then the league got so big that you didn't play everybody." That's the real genesis of this. So, like Bob Lilly's team, there was a trophy back then, and then they got rid of it. Now it's back because you play everyone in your conference, then you play either home or road against everyone out in the other conference, and it works out. But, I love that Pittsburgh, this is the trophy I'd want as a player.
100%.
I know this is like an ongoing cliched argument.
In America.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody else in the country, in the world has common sense to understand the sample size and what this means.
Yeah, but what makes this special to me is Pittsburgh wraps up their first piece of silverware, the Players Shield, this past week against Tampa Bay. They also made that Open Cup run too.
Yeah.
And we see it year after year. The team that finishes in the round of 8 or reaches the final always pays a price somewhere. And this Pittsburgh team was so well balanced that even when they were going through the Open Cup, Bob against Cincinnati rotated against Cincinnati.
And yet they could have gotten over the line, man. We talked about it before.
They nearly beat them. And then it was because they had a big game against Charleston on the weekend. So the amazing thing to me is at no point did they compromise their principles to get here. And it took the whole roster. And
if anything, Bob pushed further than we've seen before.
Yep. And I give a lot of credit to the Riverhounds for how they did this. And it made real ripples in Pittsburgh. This is a season that is already going to be remembered, and there's a high likelihood that I know you've been on the Rowdies train to make the final out of the East. I've been on the Pittsburgh train now for about 3 months.
I don't think either one of us are wrong, and it could still work out a different way. However,
yeah,
I think I'm not going to chase that right now. I'm not going to chase what my opinion is on what a team can do. I would like to talk about what a team did.
Yep.
Right? And I think that's the most fair thing here, because I'm not going to say that I didn't think the Rowdies, or excuse me, the Riverhounds were capable of getting a result here. To me, my argument still stands about how I feel about the Rowdies and what they're capable of in the best team in USL. However, Pittsburgh proved that in the regular season, they reign supreme.
Yep.
And we need to take a moment for that and just respect the fact that regardless of not having Robbie Mertz, regardless of not having Danny Griffin to start the year, and not knowing necessarily if you were going to get 20 goals, mind you, from Albert Dikwa, that this is the situation that they were going to be in. It feels different, man. And we don't know where this team is going to go, but it definitely feels different than 2019. A 2019 team that, second year for Bob Lilly, everybody felt like they can go chase this. They're going to do it. They're going to push. No, this team could beat that team. And we've both had conversation with Bob Lilly throughout the year, and he's referenced that team multiple times. I don't feel as if he would acknowledge it now, because he doesn't want to set bad karma or anything like that. But I could almost assure you that if we had a conversation with him, regardless of outcome now of the rest of the year, and they've still got a lot of work to do and goals to accomplish, that he would almost assuredly say that this team is better than that 19 team.
Yep.
Have to, right?
It's the best team he's coached.
Oh, my God.
Including 2015.
Wow. Okay, that's another conversation for another time. Can I give you some trivia coming off of this game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so first of all, goals. We talked about it. Albert Dikwa grabs his 20th. He leads the Golden Boot race by 3. Cal Jennings And Danny Trejo, Phoenix, Tampa Bay Rowdies, they're both on 17. Tani Oluwaseyi still on 16. That's been coming for a while. Albert Deco, by the way, 13th player in USL Championship history to reach the 20-goal mark. I would say that, am I wrong that I'm thinking that seems low, but when I started to walk my mind back through it, I go, oh, no, that actually seems exactly right.
Yep.
Pittsburgh finished the season with a home record. Get it, this is a road game. 13-1-3, 42 points. The 13 wins is tied for a single season record. They're tied with 8 other teams. That makes 9 total. I even put LOL in the rundown because people at home don't know. I don't add good. It's a joke. They finish second most home points all time with 42. My question to you, Michael, would be...
Give it to me, Devon.
I feel like you're gonna nail this right away as soon as I ask you.
Doubt it. Let it rip.
Who has the most home points in a single season?
My first thoughts are the Phoenix 20-win team and Cincinnati.
No, neither.
Wow.
Mine, I did the same, by the way.
Tampa Bay a couple of years ago?
No.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking points, not wins.
I know. And also, you go to the early
Literally
days.
1 point, by the way.
Yeah, but you go to the early days of the league, and it was 28 games.
It's not early. You're
Right.
never going to you're going to be blown away when I tell you. You ready?
El Paso?
2019 Indy 11.
Oh, wow. And
dude,
I mean,
and remember, they were unbeatable on that turf game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, truly horrible on the road.
A flaming pile on the road, 100%. The second part is, and this isn't more of trivia, I should say. It's more of number 1 versus number 2. This was the 12th time in the history of the league that we saw a number 1 team, regardless of conference, play the number 2 team, okay? The results are pretty staggering. Out of the winner of that game in the previous 11, the winner of that game, 4 times out of 11, do the math, stats are pretty good. 4 times out of 11 produced the number 1 overall seed. 5 times out of 11, almost 50%, produced a conference winner. 4 times that winner went to the final. And twice they took down the entire thing. Wow. Statistically, you got to feel really good about being the Pittsburgh Riverhounds right now.
Yeah. So the Riverhounds knock off Tampa Bay 2-0. They are now 6 points clear at the top of the East with 1 game to go. So they've wrapped up the East, of course, and the Players Shield. Dev, a couple other results to hit before we head into sort of recap each conference. The Battery lose to Miami, so that means Tampa Bay will clinch the 2 spot. The 4 and 5 are far enough away, sure. In the Eastern Conference, Memphis and Louisville are hanging in the 4-5, although Indy could come in and jump Louisville and potentially set up a Louisville-Charleston game. Otherwise, it's a Louisville-Memphis game. All of them are sitting in the little 4-point span. What we do know is Memphis can drop no lower than 5. As Indy can't catch them. Dev, I saw this and it surprised me. Cal Jennings probably doesn't win the Golden Boot this year, but I didn't quite realize how many goals he had in such a short time to get where he is right now. Because obviously we saw him in Vegas and he was piling up goals, and that's great. But,
yeah,
I mean, what he's accomplishing right now with the Rowdies is the highest per game rate of his career, and that's notable because
he could become the fastest ever to 50 goals in USL Championship history. The fastest ever, our friend of the show, friend of the pod no longer exists, 3 on a slide, see you later, RIP, is Chandler Hoffman. Trivia to you, who's the second fastest?
Second fastest? Cam, maybe? Lancaster, maybe Haji Berry?
Nope.
The game's over, that's all I got.
Solomon Asante.
Of course.
Right. By the way, he was on 48 goals.
Forever.
And 84 appearances.
Yes.
My man took a decade to hit 50.
Yeah.
All due respect. That's, again, one of the nicest players and the best smiles you ever see in meet. So.
Yeah. No,
anyway.
All I remember is how long it took to get to 50, which, to be fair, is completely arbitrary. Let's be honest. It's just a big round number. He did get there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's because 50, he's got a phobia of 50. Also, quick Canardo Forbes fact if you want, because I'm always down for King Kenny.
Bring it.
First player back-to-back double-digit assist seasons. Dev, how many players have had 2 double digits, but never back-to-back?
Just 2, by the way. Just 2 players in USL Championship history. Aiden
but now
Quinn.
3, because you don't do math good.
Supposed to be 3. It's only 2.
Well, now there's 3.
No, the other way around, like I told you.
Canardo.
Well, no.
Canardo's whatever. Do the thing.
Yeah, he's had double digits already.
All right.
He's the first player to do it in back-to-back seasons, right?
Yep.
2 players overall. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Aiden Quinn had 14 with Orange County in 2018. And in 2021, when he came to Phoenix Rising, he had 11. So that's 2. Antoine Opino, not surprised that he had 14 with Reno in 2018. West was wild that year, by the way. Remember that team?
Sure.
Remember that? That was a Phoenix Rising Western Conference winner, wasn't it? Yep. Orange County won the regular season. Who knew? And Detroit City last year. He did finish as the assist champion, if I'm not mistaken, last year.
Antoine?
Am I wrong?
It's news to me.
We'll figure it out on the break. I'm going to figure that out on the break.
All right, cool. Kalen Ryden hits 200 regular season appearances. Congratulations to one of the OGs. He's been around this block many, many times.
And a big reason that they are still around for
no kidding
playoff contention with his performance. And the entire team for New Mexico United on the weekend, to be fair.
Yeah, forget just hanging around. They've jumped Oakland now.
Yeah, they were great.
By virtue of their win over Phoenix. So New Mexico is actually in playoff position. Chat about the West a little later. We've got an East recap. We'll take a look at the games that matter most in this upcoming match week, the final of the regular season before we get to the playoffs and set a bracket, and then give everyone the poster board material that they need to paper their locker room for the off chance they make the run. We'll be back in a moment with plenty more USL All Access.
Let's get back to USL All Access on SiriusXM FC.
Welcome back to USL All Access on this Tuesday evening with Devon and Emmett. Mike, a lot to cover. We've already talked endlessly about Pittsburgh and assists and all kinds of stuff at this point.
Whoa, Miss Lippy. Whoa, Michael. Listen, I need to apologize. Somewhat. Actually, I was right. Shocking. But there was a little bit that was a touch off. I said that Antoine Opino, if you're just joining us, last segment we talked about who we thought the assist champion was last year. Antoine Opino now one of 3 players that has done multi-year double-digit assists, 2 specifically. And we referenced Reno in 18. I said that he did it last year with Detroit. I thought he won the assist title. Turns out he has to share that title because King Kenny, that's our fault, Canardo Forbes from the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, also had 11, as well as Robbie Mertz. Though I have a bone to pick. One Nicholas Murray, the guru from USL Championship. I don't find it fair that statistically on the website we list Robbie Mertz for the 2022 season only as a Riverhound. Because, friendly reminder, he was part of the 3 Stripes second team, Atlanta United 2. So he split it. Now, statistically, it was much more favorable in Houndtan. But just saying. Houndtan?
Yeah.
Houndtan?
So what? It would be the 5 Hounds or the River Stripes?
The 3 Hounds? River Stripes. The River Stripes.
The River Stripes for all those.
What are the River Stripes?
Right now it's just Robbie and no one else, but you never know.
Stripe in it. The River Stripes.
Know. Dev, before we get into playoff battles in the East, we have a happy offseason to wish FC Tulsa. Look, give them a lot of credit because they made a lot of changes to try and get this closer to the vision that they ultimately have. I mean, there was no team that was more active over the course of this year trying to pick the roster that they wanted on the fly than they were. An element of that was at times it felt disjointed. There's an element of you pushed a lot of chips to go get Philip Goodrum. And to be fair, it's not like you gave up draft capital. It's not like you ran out of money, but you did make an honest effort to go for this when you brought in Goodrum and ultimately it doesn't pan out with a playoff berth. They're eliminated last week. Now can you keep Phillip, and what does that look like moving forward for him and the club? And there's a lot of things to figure out for this Tulsa side, not the least of which, are they done yet?
Yeah.
In terms of, how much tinkering they're doing. Because I think they know what they want, and I think they have a lot of pieces that can exist there. It's just how much adjusting they want to do over the offseason versus taking the foundation they laid.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think the thing that probably pains me the most, because I still believe in the process. I think everybody does. And the project that they're trying to put together there. You and I had them for Summer Showcase back on August 9th in Colorado Springs, right? And coming in, they were on the downfall a little bit. They had lost 2 games in a row to Louisville City at home and at the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Yep.
Prior to that, they set an organization record for wins in a row. It was 5. They beat, forget location, they beat Detroit, Indy, Miami, Hartford, RGV. And everybody around the league, myself included, just sort of looked and said, this is great. It's great for the league. It's great for the conference. Amazing for the team. But if you want to compete, we expect you to beat those teams respectfully. And that's not a knock on the other teams. The other teams would look and probably say, yeah, like, we weren't at our best. We need to get better, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's where they are right now. Sure.
Since that game, the draw on August 9th, they lost to the Rowdies, better team. Birmingham, better team. New Mexico United, we could probably argue till the cows come home of whether that's a 50-50, one's better, one's worse. So we'll call that vanilla, right?
Sure.
See what I did there?
I do.
They beat San Antonio. That's an incredible result. Draw at home against Phoenix. I think that's fair because of the field that they play on. You beat Oakland. Okay. You lost to Charleston. Better team. You lost to Pittsburgh. Better team. You lost to Indy. Better team. Where I'm going here is that they are going to move in the offseason in a good way to try and make sure that those games that I just mentioned, a lot of one-goal games, I might add you, home or away, that they are the benefactor of those results. They have a solid core of players, a great coaching tree, and Sam Dorr in the front office. I have no doubt that they will be better next season, but it certainly was not enough to get across the line this year.
Yep. So Tulsa is eliminated here. For what it's worth, again, all the changes they did make, they're still about a year and a half into new ownership. They've got, I believe, some pretty epic plans for how they want to keep moving that entire franchise forward that'll come about this offseason as well. So Tulsa's down. Miami, 2-1 win over the Battery. They jumped Detroit, hang in the 8th spot as we close down into the final week. The Battery now, as we mentioned earlier, can only finish in third or third. That's it. They are like the only team that's completely locked.
Well, Rowdies are locked too.
Yeah, those two are.
The 1, 2, 3 is done.
1, 2, 3 is done. That Miami has now won 4 in a row, and we looked at their schedule a little bit ago and went, oh, man, this is not going to be an easy ride. And even if they get by Charleston, they still have to finish at Sacramento. We've been talking about this for a long time, and yet here's Sacramento with nothing to play for.
Oh, I disagree with you.
What, the Rowdies?
Oh, I disagree
worrying about
with
the final?
No, I'm telling
left?
you. No, I believe in that 100%. You're saying they have nothing to play for? Mike, just hear me out for a second. Everybody, what we're referencing is Sacramento Republic. So Pittsburgh win the Players Shield, the number 1 overall seed. No one can catch them. That means that if Pittsburgh win every game in the playoffs, no matter what, every game will go through Highmark. Pittsburgh will have a home game. The second spot overall is still up for grabs.
Sacramento 61, Tampa Bay 60, and no one can catch those two.
You can't tell me they have nothing to play for. There is no chance they have any interest whatsoever of traveling number 1 to the East Coast number 2 to the Rowdies number 3 and bypassing the idea that they would get away from almost 12,000 fans at home.
Would you rather be healthy in a week and a half, or would you rather beat Miami and potentially 3 weeks later maybe get a home game?
First of all, they've got time to prepare. It's not like they're playing a midweek game.
No.
Think about it the other side of things. If you don't play your team on the weekend, and you rotate 4 or 5, maybe even 6 players. Now you've given half your team 2 weeks off from a competitive standpoint.
Yeah, that's a long time too.
No chance. No thank you. Absolutely not. Mark Briggs, Todd Donovan, they know what they're doing. They're going to make sure that they're tailored correctly. They're going to chase the number 2 overall because they already won the West, and they're going to make sure that if the Riverhounds slip up in the Eastern Conference, everybody's flying to the West Coast. Absolutely. They got everything to play for, my friend.
So Miami does control their destiny. However, they go to Sacramento. Detroit is right behind them by a point. Detroit 3-0 win at Loudoun. They took care of the business they needed to take care of. They're going to host Pittsburgh this weekend. And this is where Pittsburgh has more of a dilemma than anybody, right? Having to go to Detroit, and you might see them in a week. And how much do you want to show them I always think about the old Patriots Giants game in the regular season when they went perfect in the regular season and lost in the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
Don't let a team feel like they can hang, because when the chips are down, they're going to do more than hang. You're going to get a little bit more than they gave you the first time.
I got a mailbag here,
and
I'm with you. And so we're leading into it. At Ian Gilmore 04. It's Ian Gilmore. It says he's a Michigan State alum. I actually know who this is. He's a great person from what I've been told. Never met him in person. He works for Indy 11 now. His question is, and he's got a Detroit background, by the way.
Mailbag.
Mailbag. You can tell that he's a Detroit guy by the way that he phrases it. How many starters does Bob Lilly bring to Keyworth on Saturday? First of all, Bob Lilly doesn't bring starters anywhere. They come to him. So let's get that out of the way. Okay. Number 2, it is an interesting question. How many starters does he bring to Keyworth on Saturday? Well, it's a loaded answer and question because, number 1, he's bringing everybody. Let's get that out of the way. Yep. How many does he start? If I had to guess, I would guess that Bob rotates 3 or 4. That's my guess here. And the reason I say that is I don't see him going a full 11. I see him maybe tinkering with the structure a little bit, but making sure that everybody's playing. Bob is very big on the mental side of things, and the psyche is everything here. Because to your point, Mike, if, let's say, Detroit win somehow, forget what the actual game is like. Detroit get the points. It's a 1-0, early goal, late game winner, whatever it is, and they get out of there and all that jazz, whatever. And Miami loses. Well, now we're seeing the same exact game again, right? Messing with the formation is one thing. Making sure the players are fresh is another. Bob's going to make sure they're fresh. And Bob's going to toy with it just like everybody else is. He's going to look and go, okay, how are they going to set up against me? Because respectfully, Detroit doesn't have the same luxury that Pittsburgh does. And they certainly don't have the same talent, nor the ability to execute on a regular basis. And all you fools up in Detroit that are going, oh, how's that the case? That's not true. Just look at the statistics. Look at the table. That makes sense. Everything I'm saying statistically makes sense. It's not an opinion. So Bob's going to toy with that a little bit and see, like, if I do this, how are they going to react? I think I'll be less concerned overall with whether or not they get 3 points, so I'm sure he does want them, as opposed to seeing what Detroit's going to offer, how his team can stay fresh, stay sharp, and even if you go tweak a draw, he'll be fine with that. But I do imagine that he's going to bring everyone. My guess would be 7 starters, maybe 8.
Here's a quick note, because a lot of teams will do decision day, right? Play them all at the same time. Not the case here. Detroit plays at 4:00 on Saturday, East Coast time.
That's convenient.
Miami plays at 10 on the West Coast.
That's a joke and not cool.
No one knew at the beginning that this is how it would end.
Everybody knew at the beginning that there would be something to be said on the last day.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't make.
Who do we talk to
here.
about this? Am I about to get fired right now?
I don't know if you're going to get fired, but you're definitely not making friends. Here's where I'm going with this. Detroit hold the tiebreaker head-to-head. They beat Miami 2-1. They drew 0-0. If you're Detroit and you get a point in the early game, Miami has to respond.
Pedal to the metal.
Changes everything.
Pedal to the metal.
If Detroit wins, Miami has to win. If Detroit draws, Miami has to get a result. If Detroit loses, we're done.
Mike,
Miami can do whatever the hell they want.
Ready? Here's an even, I wouldn't say a better one, but another one to complement what you just said. What was my argument earlier about SAC? That they want the number 2?
Yep.
Right? SAC
plays at 10.
Is now going to have the luxury. Although lineup-wise, it could change. They're going to have the luxury of going, oh, wait. You're telling me that I don't have to win this game? Or I only need a point in order to get into the number 2?
The Rowdies play against Louisville on the road at 7:30. Just so we're all clear here, Sacramento plays at 10 against Miami. They'll know. They'll know.
Well, but here's the thing. You say they know. They will know by the time that they kick. Their lineup card, for everyone that doesn't know, will already be in. You have to submit your lineup card 1 hour from kick. So if you're Mark Briggs, you will have already had to have made the decision of, this is what we're going to do. To be fair, though, you could easily see the result, and I say easily lightly, and go, oh, yeah, we don't need to do anything. Let's everybody
kick
off.
It around. Yep.
Screw it.
For what it's worth, Dev, I don't know that you've been in this exact scenario. Would you want to know? Half an hour out?
Oh, so I've done it. We did it for multiple occasions, never half an hour out. I actually knew longer than that, and I think it actually messed with my mind.
Yep.
Dallas Cup 2000 or 2001. Dallas Cup, for people that don't know, is arguably the biggest youth tournament in the United States, probably the biggest, and certainly one of the biggest in the world. And we knew going in that we needed a draw, and we played terrible. Regional final in 2003. Sorry, not regional final. Final game of regional group to get to the national championships knockout round. We only needed a draw, same thing going in. We lost 3 or 4-1, and I gave away the first goal. I was terrible. I was so bad that I threw my cleats into the stands when I got done. And last but not least, at Stetson. Stetson had actually worked for us my freshman year at Stetson University. I can't remember who we were playing, but in order to get the number 2 seed, which meant that we didn't have to travel until the final, we had to get a result, and it kind of pushed us, and we ended up getting a result. We had to travel anyway because FAU won the division. Shocking, but
okay,
yeah. I don't like. I think that's an unfair advantage, and if you take a look at almost every league around the world, I think this is something we all need to pay attention to, because you can all play at the same point in time, even if it's a different time in different zones. So you can play a 7:00 game on the East Coast. That's a 4:00 game on the West Coast. And if you taper it appropriately, everybody benefits.
Well, and here's an additional thought that's worth noting. If you are Detroit playing at 4, you don't, let's say it's 0-0 in the 85th minute, you don't know that you need to go push for the extra goal.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, in theory you do, but
not enough
at the
to
risk
concede.
Of giving, bingo.
Yeah, not enough to concede.
You're not bringing your goalkeeper up.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
as opposed
Nate
to
the
the
Great
potential of
Nate the Great doesn't move.
As opposed to finding out that there's already been a draw in the Miami game, and now you need to go get the 3.
Yeah, stay there and launch the ball out of the stadium. We're not having a conversation, right? Like, don't move. You're a chess piece that has a magnet on the bottom, and you don't have the alternate form on the bottom side. You're not moving at all.
Yep. So that's the battle at the playoff line right now. Detroit will host Pittsburgh. Miami is at Sacramento. That action is on ESPN Plus. The other 2 battles, so to speak, you've got sort of the 3-4-5 and the 5-6-7, all sort of in a peculiar spot. If you are Memphis, you blow out El Paso 4-0. You take control of the 4 seed. All you need to do is draw. Can't finish worse than 5th. Win, you're in for the 4th and final home playoff game. Louisville, on the other hand, can catch them with a victory and a Memphis loss. Look, you're hosting Tampa Bay. What a way to say, hey, we're back, ultimately. Conversely, they could drop the 6. They could jump Memphis and get a home playoff game. We discussed at length comments from Danny Cruz last week about the disgraceful performance prior. Dev now, he says, look, really disappointed. 1-1 draw with Hartford, 24 shots, 8 on target. Tellefson finally gets a goal.
Yeah.
They feel like the intensity is right, but they still didn't get the result they wanted. Now they have to go do it against the Rowdies to have any chance at a home playoff game.
Have you ever, and I'm not trying to be negative here, but I'm just saying, like, the shades of Louisville that we're starting to see now. Have you ever, Mike, and you predate me, seen a Louisville team more discombobulated heading into the postseason?
Nope.
No, and I feel for them. But I'll tell you what, trying to be positive, right? We talk about being positive for every single team in the situation that they're in. Is this a spot where legit you hit the final day and you go, this is it. This is what we're made of. This is how we go and chase everything that this organization is about. Now, you can't control what Memphis is going to do, right? And we'll get to that in a minute. But you go and get a win. You jump into a top 4. You restore that belief that, hey, we've got a home playoff game. This is what we're all about. Again, you can't control what's going to go on in the playoffs, but you instill belief in a team. Because if anybody needs it, for any team in the Eastern Conference right now, it's them.
Yep. Meanwhile, 5, 6, 7 is interesting in a different way. Memphis can drop to 5 if Louisville jump them. Louisville can go 4, 5, 6. Indy, a 2-1 win against Tulsa that eliminated Tulsa. They'll see San Antonio at Toyota this weekend. They can go 5 to 7. Birmingham can go up to 6, but right now in 7, they could jump Indy with an Indy loss. Birmingham a 2-0 win against Monterey, who are dropping like a stone. We'll chat about that here in a moment. Dev, anything else to add on the East, or are we shipping out?
Yeah, I'm done. We're good.
All right.
See ya.
We'll have a bracket next week. That no more trying to do the math anymore. We're innocent next week. All right, back with the Western Conference lookabout in just a moment on USL All Access.
Let's get back to USL All Access on SiriusXM FC.
You are accessing USL. It is the final regular season weekend coming up with Devon, Mike. Emmett handles all the odds and ends. Appreciation for another season well done, pal. Dev, let's jump into the Western Conference. Sacramento, 6 points clear of San Antonio. They are the Western regular season champion with a 3-2 win at RGV. They're going to host Miami on the weekend. What's that game going to mean? We'll know a heck of a lot more around 9:45 Eastern, about 15, 20 minutes before they kick. Cicerone got his 14th, hadn't scored in over 2 months, and now all of a sudden, perhaps, he's got this thing going. Dev, if you're Sacramento, do you care which of the 7, 8, 9 teams that you see?
See, I care more about what we just talked about in the second segment, and that's establishing yourself as not just the number 1 in the West, which they've already done, but grabbing the number 2 seed overall. To me, that's the biggest thing. Psychologically, they've handled almost every single team this year. I don't really care.
Okay. San Antonio lost to Orange County. Milan Olaski suddenly is on a goal-scoring streak. McNulty got sent off in that game, was stepping in up front. Orange County officially hosting a playoff game. They were dead and buried. They're going to finish either second, third, or fourth now. San Diego with a 4-2 win against Oakland mean they guarantee a home playoff game, at least one more at Torero, and they sold out their last one. It's here we go. Like here's the bury them with the cup motif coming full bore.
That was a pretty sweet dear Lord, what's it called? Help me. Tifo. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love the bury us with the cup. I think it's great. Look, we rooted for them to get into the 4 spot, right? Or at least get a home playoff spot, I should say. Yeah, just get one. That being said, I'll tell you what, if we want to intertwine all this together, the Orange County run, Milan Olaski being back on track, San Diego getting it together, certainly over the last 5 games of the year. San Antonio, who's been slipping the other direction. San Antonio feels, I've spoken to a couple people behind the scenes, they feel a little bit slighted right now. And they still think that they are a team, and I don't necessarily disagree with them, that can not only win a title, but make some pretty impressive noise doing it. And there's a lot of people on that team last year that have a star above their crest for a reason, because they were on that squad. They've still got the confidence, they've still got the belief, and they are valuing, at least from what I'm hearing, the number 2 seed as much, if not more, right now, given the circumstances, as winning the title regular season last year. That meant a lot to them, but given everything that they've gone through, Mike, and I think you could probably agree with me, players in and out, injury, and we heard this last year too, but everything that they've gone through, form, rotation, yada, yada, lack of results, and they're still sitting at the number 2 in the West, they want to retain that. Yep. That's very important to them. Because I think a lot of people that I've spoken to feel that SAC could slip up. I don't agree with that. But if they do, San Antonio in the driver's seat.
Accurate. And then also they've got 2 teams 1 point back, Orange County and San Diego. If San Antonio fail to win, this is going to get real interesting. They have to go to Monterey, which is not an easy place to finish out. Monterey still has everything to play for. Orange County or San Diego could jump them into the 2, and all of a sudden they get 1 home game, and then they're on the road potentially the rest of the way. 5, 6, 7, 5, 6. That's set. We know they're in. We know they're going to be on the road. Colorado Springs and Phoenix. Phoenix falling to New Mexico, keeping them in playoff position, believe it or not. Then you get to the end of the line here. Somehow there's going to be 2 teams going to the playoffs out of the 5 that are hanging. El Paso, New Mexico, Oakland, Monterey Bay, and RGV. RGV, yikes. I don't see it.
No.
Monterey Bay has to handle San Antonio, but if we know anything, it's that they've come up with a few of these over the years and they got murked by San Antonio earlier this year. Please don't think they forgot that. Oakland is playing otherworldly poorly at the moment. They feel like they're close, but now 0-6-2 in their last 8. New Mexico just beat Phoenix, which has to be their biggest win of the year. And there's El Paso hanging around, just totally blowing out their opposition this week, a 4-0 win. And maybe they're in position.
That's a maybe, a big maybe for all of them. Mike, I want to flip this script here for a second, because I know we've only got about a minute and a half or so. If you were a technical director and you could go appoint yourself as the head of one of these teams right now, or general manager, coach, whatever you want to do, because you believe in the process that they've put out so far, and you think that this one team could go win a title.
Out of that group?
Out of those 5.
El Paso.
You take El Paso, right?
Yeah.
Who's your second? That's the hardest one for me.
Monterey Bay.
I'm still taking El Paso with you. For me, I'm probably still taking Monterey, though I would say that the results that we've seen from New Mexico recently, I don't think it's fair to not acknowledge them. This is a New Mexico team that we put down and out. They went to Phoenix, they won. They hosted Louisville, they won. Yeah, I get it. They lost to Pittsburgh. But Sacramento.
So did everybody else.
So did everybody else. This team has proven over the past month, 6 weeks really, that they can compete with the best in the business. I would tip my hat there.
Yep. Meanwhile, of note, New Mexico plays on Friday night against Memphis.
Look at that.
So they'll know whether they're in with a win or if they're waiting to find out what happens beneath them. Dev, you learn anything from this show? Oh, wait.
No, we're going to flip this. We're not going to learn anything. I'm going to flip it. This is better. Does chalk hold on the weekend? Let me rephrase that. Do the standings hold? Do the standings hold on the weekend for either conference?
So, first off, there will be an inevitable adjustment. I think your top 4 are locked in the East. I think Miami stays. Same. And in the West, I think San Diego is hosting as a 2 seed. And I go out on a limb and say 7 and 8 either don't change or Monterey Bay picks up the late result to jump New Mexico.
I salute you.
Yeah? All right, that's what we learned. For Devon and Emmett, Mike, thanks for listening. We'll have a bracket reveal for you next week on Tuesday night right here. Enjoy the weekend's games, all spread out for your own passing fantasy. So long. Talk to you next week.
This is USL All Access. If you missed any portion of the program, listen back anytime on the SiriusXM app.